Okay, welcome back. I'm following this recording straight on from part 2, owing to the wonderful situation which we found ourselves in, with Desmond's gates completely unbarred and unguarded. So let's show you how warfare works. First off, you need to make sure you don't have your levies up. You declare war, then you raise your levies. You can't have your levies up when you declare war. The game won't let you. This is basically to stop you mustering all your forces in one spot. At the moment, that doesn't really matter because, well, I've only got 2 territories, but when you're commanding entire countries, you know, the logistics of getting a single army together takes a good few months. So that really becomes a factor when you want to declare war. So I can declare war, I can push my de jure claim on Desmond, and I send it off. Now, this is the war counter. This little thing here is essentially keeping track of your score. Winning battles, breaking enemy strongholds through sieges increases the score. Losing battles, having your own lands besieged, reduces the score. Pretty simple, really. The higher you can get that war score, the more likely a person is to accept a surrender. So say, for example, I want to offer this guy white peace. We'll go and do it through diplomacy. If I offer him white peace, no. Things are certainly going my way, he thinks. If I offer him surrender, he'll accept it. If I want to enforce my demands, well, as you can see, no. As the war score climbs, as I beat the crap out of him, he will become a lot more receptive to these options. So the next stage is to raise the levies. We go to the military screen, raise personal levies, raise vassal levies. And as you can see, the feasts that we did in part 2 have dramatically increased the available forces to me. I've gone from having barely 300 to being able to claim close to 500 now. In fact, I believe we're actually at 500. So, the goal in these wars is to beat the crap out of your enemy army. Now, there's no micro-combat here like there is in the Total War series. You have your army, it has a composition, it meets the enemy army, and they fight. Now, your composition does mean something, but to be honest, it's so awkward to try and micromanage it that the best thing to do is just make sure that you're researching tech into the troops that you have the most of. So, for example, here I've got a lot of heavy infantry. Here I've also got a lot of heavy infantry, so I'm just going to make sure that my research is going into heavy infantry, which is heavy armour. At the end of the day, you can't really do much beyond making sure that you outnumber the enemy and that your armies have a decent leader. In this case, they are being led by me. Over here, they are being led by nobody. Wonderful. So, there's other things that you can do as well, like here there's 2. So there's the Munsterian army, which is I believe that will be made up of the army of these 2, and there's my personal army, which is the army of Duke Murchad I. Controlling armies is pretty easy. You select them by either clicking on them, so you can cycle through armies occupying the same territory by repeatedly clicking, or you can drag a box and then select from here. It's pretty straightforward. You can also merge them together, which I would strongly recommend that you do, because merging your armies means that moving them together is a lot easier. If you don't merge them, you're only going to end up splitting them accidentally. Merging can be done here. You can disband them here. Make sure you're in your own territory when you disband. If you're not in your own territory when you disband, you will lose some of the army. If you're in your own territory, it doesn't matter if it's the army's home territory or not, they go back and you don't have to start from almost scratch when you're rebuilding the levies. You can also reorganise the armies here as well by dragging them around and so forth. To be honest, I wouldn't bother. It's a bit too much micro than I normally use. But these are now merged together into one army. So, beating enemy armies is basically a matter of outmanoeuvring them, pinning them down, and trying to beat them with superior numbers. Having a good leader also helps, but at the end of the day, this is a game which is a lot more about positioning and the placement of your armies and who they are fighting, rather than it is about special tactics, hiding in the woods and ambushes and so forth. How about sieges? Well, each stronghold in a county has a garrison. You can see it here next to the levies. A garrison has a strength. In order to lay siege to a garrison, all of your attacking armies must exceed the garrison's strength. If they do, the garrison's strength starts to be worn down. When it reaches 0, you've conquered that garrison. Easy enough. However, if your army does not exceed the strength of the garrison, then nothing happens. The garrison's strength will not decrease, and you will in fact start losing soldiers through attrition anyway. So make sure you're aware of garrison strength before you attack. So let's select these armies, right click to have them march, and off we go. Okay, my beloved half-brother wants to be married. Alright, well let's find him someone nice and pause the game. Where is my half-brother? Here he is. So let's arrange him a marriage. Okay. Let's get him someone else from House Jimena. This person's stats aren't great, but this guy's never going to be on the throne if I have my way, so it doesn't really matter. You can see he gains 33 for marrying into House Jimena and 100 for marrying a courtier. This is because this guy basically doesn't have any titles. If you click on his character portrait, you can see no titles. He has a strong claim to the Duchy of Munster, but that's only because he's my blood. He's in the line of succession, but he's somewhat further down than he'd like. So arranging him this marriage might also be a way to keep him happy. So off we go there. And that sorts that bugbear out. And we carry on with the clock. Okay, that's just confirmation of the marriage. So you can see here, we are now laying siege to this territory. They'll typically begin by attacking the outlying holdings, so the bishopric and the city will be the main targets. In this case, let's see, where are we? Defenders. So this guy is the defender. He is the one who owns the county of Disband. Alright, sorry, that's just the liege lord. I'm just trying to identify the defending garrison. I think, yeah, they have actually gone straight for the main throat here. So you can also choose to attempt to assault the hold. This is very, very risky. Assaulting the hold, basically, unless you have about a 6-to-1 advantage, or the defenders are nearly crapped out anyway, you're not going to get very far. In fact, it's almost suicide to do this. This is something that you only do if you're in the last battle of the war and you want to finish it quickly. So a random event relating to the siege. So defending troops take 5% losses. Works for me. You also get events like sallies and so forth that can damage your attacking army as well, so it's not all sunshine and roses. So here we go, raiders hit camp. So target for bandits. My raiding party loses 1% of its forces. But again, once you're here, it's just a case of waiting them out. And again, warfare isn't the main part of Crusader Kings 2. This may seem dull to you, but at the end of the day, Crusader Kings 2 is a lot more about the politics. The interesting part here is capitalising on that advantage I've got of that de jure claim while this guy's armed forces were also away. Situations popping up like that and exploiting them. That's the heart of Crusader Kings 2. It's the ability to take the situations as they come and turn them to your advantage. Sometimes that's done through warfare, sometimes it's done through an assassin's blade, sometimes it's just done through a silver tongue. So the defenders here have nearly fallen. Victory. So you can see that victory puts 31% on my war score. I've lost 20 of my troops to establish a garrison here, so it can't immediately be retaken. And then I'm off to attack another area. In this case, I believe at 222 defenders, it would have to be the remaining outlying areas. So this bar, by the way, is their morale. So if you hover over it, you can see how quickly their morale is going to go down. That'll give you an idea as to how long the siege will take. So We're just waiting for that to wrap up. Successful sally by the defender, they gain some morale, they deal some damage to me, blah blah blah. I'm not that fussed. You'll also notice this checkered pattern here appeared on the territory. That means that holdings within it are in dispute. Some holdings are held by one party, some holdings are held by the other. So you see I've taken the city of Cork. If I take Cloyne here, I've seized the entire county. At 88% war score at the moment, seizing the county will put me on 100%. So I'm just going to pause. At 100%, he'll accept pretty much anything. Oh look, there's his forces come back. So he's brought his forces back. They've probably been wounded by the campaign that they've been on. He stands a chance of doing enough damage that I wouldn't be able to finish the fight, so I'm going to see if we can get him to surrender. Enforce demands? Nope. Offer white peace? He is willing to offer white peace, but like I said, if you're the aggressor, white peace, generally speaking, not smart. So can I raise any more levies? You can also raise levies from the county screen here. So no more levies can be raised. That's fine. Let's see if we can wrap this up before his army gets back. Okay, now here's a classic example. You can see here is different from here. This little exclamation mark means that he does not have sufficient forces to actually siege this castle. I have 491 defenders, he only has 223 attackers. So that siege is not going anywhere. He's occupying the territory, but he's not really doing anything. He just doesn't have enough forces. So I'm actually going to take a risk here and attempt to assault the holding. See if I can finish them off. And you can see how quickly morale falls. That's how dangerous it is to do that. You see, I was very close to victory anyway. And if I'd have held on, I'd have probably managed it, but I didn't want to risk that situation. However, my army may have been defeated, but I've conquered his entire county. My war score's at 100%. Hopefully, I should be able to convince him to enforce demands, and I can. So you can see in that situation it was actually wise to storm the hold, because if that army had come in and attacked me, odds are they'd have done enough damage to lower my own strength below that of that last garrison, which means the best I could have hoped for was white peace. But there we go. That's expanding your realm through warfare. So as you can see, this is now a part of my own independent realm. And, yeah, that's warfare for you. Desmond can now be controlled, almost as if, controlled as much as I can control Ormond. And I should get an increased tax rate. Let's check the revolt risk. Nothing too bad there. This guy's opinion of me is at -13, so that's not good. But let's be nice to him. Let's award him an honorary title, Master of the Horse. Because we don't want our vassals to be unhappy. Given time, he'll get used to it. He will eventually deal with his plight. So let's have a look. His heir is unmarried. Let's see if we can arrange a marriage here to see if we can root out his once and for all. So the only person I have that can marry is a courtier, and he does not want that. So the opinions are high enough, the age of the suitor is good, the skills of the suitor are good, and the fact that I'm his liege is good, but he desires a better alliance than that, so he actually wants somebody probably of a higher position. That said, if we were to send him a gift, we might be able to convince him otherwise. You can see that his opinion of me has gone up a little bit, but at the end of the day that's not been enough to clinch the deal. And ideally I'd want this to be a matrilineal marriage as well, but there's no way he's going to agree to a matrilineal marriage to his direct heir. However, that said, we might be able to get him to agree to a betrothal. So let's see who his heirs are. Family. Okay. So, second eldest. Let's arrange a betrothal. The second eldest to this courtier. No. He's not going for it. Okay. How about this one here? Nope. This one here? No. Okay. So I'm going to need someone of a higher rank than a courtier in order to actually convince him to make this alliance. But ideally what I'm aiming for is to marry someone into his line of succession in a matrilineal marriage and then assassinate the remaining candidates. That way, eventually, his bloodline dies out completely. His house is destroyed and replaced by mine. But that's not going to happen here. I just need to ensure that I have some daughters and some other children that I can actually marry off. So the final thing to do is to disband the units. You don't want to keep your units up for too long. When you raise your levies from your vassals, the longer those vassals' levies are raised, the more pissed off the vassals will actually become. So try to keep your campaigns short and sweet wherever possible. But that's warfare. We've again touched on the idea of engineering line of succession with an example. It's going to be a while yet in this game before I can actually show you that directly. But you now know how warfare is conducted. You know about war score, or the war counter, depending on what you want to call it. You've got a much sounder idea now, I think, of how to actually play the game. So for now, I think I'm actually going to bring this tutorial series to a close. It's been a 3-parter, it's been very long. If you've sat through the entire thing, I have no idea how you've done it. You have the patience of a saint, although my voice has probably made your ears bleed by now. But you should now, at very least, be in a position to actually play Crusader Kings 2 with a degree of confidence. You should have a much better idea of what each of these screens are used for, the importance of plots to a point, the importance of events, the importance of military and how to actually use your military, the extreme importance of managing your vassals and your vassal laws, and of course how to use your council. Now, what I would suggest now is go up, start this game, play as this character in this time period at 1066. It's nice, it's easy, and it's straightforward. I may continue with this into part 4 if there's a demand for it. In part 4 we might look a little bit more at claiming titles like Ossory and Leinster. I would like to continue this tutorial up to the point where the Crown of Ireland is created and this character or one of his heirs is announced as king. But ultimately I'm not going to continue this tutorial if it's not actually going to teach people anything. You know, I want to show you how to play this game. I don't just want to do a let's play. But if you want me to carry on, feel free to leave something in the comments section and I will be happy to. So for now, I'm Levies, signing off.